Hello, and welcome to another Win Daily Sports Show. My name is Michael Rasile, and we are here breaking down the Lakers and the Nuggets Western Conference Finals. Game one, very excited for it this Friday night. Starting a little late for us East Coasters at 9 o'clock at night. I don't know how long I'm going to make it even on a Friday, but I got my man Ghost here with me. Ghost, man, how you doing today?
I'm doing well, Michael. How about you?
Brother, it's a good day to be alive. We are here. We're going to make some money. We're going to help some people. So we will be going over the Draftkings slate. It's in the showdown mode now. So we'll explain exactly what that means for our friends who haven't played that before. And then we will also be going over our Thrive picks, which Ghost continues to crush. If you are watching us on YouTube currently, which that's where everybody's watching us right now, make sure to smash that like button, as the people like to say, and also give us some comments. Who do you think's going to win? We always like messing with the chat a little bit. Last time it was Clippers. Clippers took it out. Time before that, it was Raptors. Raptors didn't quite win. So it's always fun to see which way we sway, see which way we go. But a little bit about this game number one in the Western Conference Finals. We have the Lakers -7. We have the over-under at 210.5. It's not a very, very high over-under. I mean, during the midst of that start of the receding games, or whatever the heck we want to call it, when we were seeing 150 or 250s and 248s, that was a lot of fun. It's kind of come back down to earth. The Lakers are also one of the best defensive teams in the NBA, which I think is pretty important to note as well. Let's just start here, man. How do you think this series is going to go?
This is pretty much a 2v2 here. I mean, we saw in the last series. I mean, Clippers are known for the supposed depth that they have and whatnot, but hey, that's the NBA bubble, right? I mean, you had a bunch of guys on that team going in and out at the beginning, and not everyone was in game shape. I know Patrick Beverley was dealing with a couple of nagging injuries there at the beginning of playoffs and even leading up to them. So it pretty much ended up being Kawhi and Paul George versus Joker and Maul, and you know what, Joker and Jamal Murray ended up getting the last laugh there. So this series, I'm pretty much expecting somewhat at least of the same magnitude. Probably going to end up being LeBron and AD versus Joker and Jamal Murray for the large part, but there are a couple of role players that can be X factors in certain amount of games.
I love it, and I'm not gonna lie, I'm very happy that the Nuggets won. I did want to see the battle for LA, but since it's not gonna be in LA, it didn't really do anything for me. So I'm excited, man. I want to see what happens and how it goes, and I'm excited to get into the showdown slate as well for our friends who've never done a showdown slate before. Things get a little weird, they get a little different. So we will go over all of that with you, but I'm crossing my fingers. I just kind of want LeBron to win this. We can all kind of agree that the bubble never counted, and then there's just more media hype, and then we can all come on here and yell about who's the GOAT, the normal stuff that comes with the NBA and media, of course. So let us bring in, nope, I guess I got to click the button. There we go. Let us bring in the DraftKings slate. So as you see, it's a little different. With these showdown slates, you get one person that is your captain spot. So what happens is they get 1.5 times the points, so 50% more, but their price also goes up by 1.5 times. So we still have the same $50,000 salary, but it doesn't matter who we pick in terms of positions. It just matters that we pick a captain and then we fill out the rest of the lineup with whoever the heck we want. So if we want to slam in 4 centers, probably not suggested, but we could do that. We can figure it out. As long as we stay underneath that salary cap, it does not matter. So, Ghost, I am very excited to hear your breakdown here. The most important person in your lineup is going to be the captain. Obviously, they score the most points in terms of value, 1.5 times. They also cost the most amount of money. So if you pick someone like LeBron at 17.4, it's going to make it very difficult to fit anybody else in your lineup at that point, especially if you want to fit in Joker and you want to fit in Anthony Davis. It's not going to happen. If you go down a little bit to someone like Michael Porter Jr. at 12.6, might be a little easier to fit some of these other guys in there, but he's probably not going to score as many points. So how do you like to look at this game in particular in terms of the captain spot to see, maybe give me a couple guys that you like in there in terms of high end, maybe some value, and then maybe some pump plays?
So for this series in particular, at least in game one, this is one of the rare occasions where you don't necessarily have to stoop down too low in terms of value at the captain spot. That being said, because they're pretty much both teams are going to end up running somewhat of tight rotations here, I'm expecting the same four guys to carry the load each and every game. You got LeBron and AD for the Lakers. You have Joker and Maul for the Nuggets, and that's where you can end up kind of rounding out your roster with a couple guys that I'm going to get into. So typically on showdown slates, I do like to end up picking my captain first. Like you said, it is the most crucial position, and then from there, I end up making pivots. So let's say, for example, you take the example that you had started going on about, which was LeBron James at 17-4. And then you end up coming, let's say, whether it's a couple $100 short or maybe even 1,000 short for your second core piece of Anthony Davis, Jokic, Jamal Murray, whoever it may be. Then that's when you can flip flop your captains. Hey, I have LeBron at 17-4. I got AD in my flex, but I'm a couple $100. I'm a couple $100 over. If you end up flip-flopping those positions, a lot of the times it ends up working out that you'll come in at or under the salary cap. So that ends up working out well. By far the most important position is your captain. Very similarly to on a full slate, whether it's a 2-gamer like we've been having as of late, or you end up having those ones in January where you have 10 plus games on them. It all depends on how it affects your entire lineup construction. So that being said, if you play a guy like Michael Porter Jr., Rajon Rondo, Gary Harris, I'm just listing names off the top of my head here in that mid-range that I'm seeing on our screen right now. It all depends on how it affects the rest of your lineup. Are you doing that because they have the highest ceiling? I mean, I think the clear obvious answer there is definitely no. Rajon Rondo does not have the same ceiling as somebody like LeBron James or Anthony Davis, clearly. But does it allow you to get that third stud in that you can't get if you go a stud at captain? And then at that point, that's where, you know what, you don't have to break out some wicked algebra and end up saying, this points times 1.5 plus this. Like you don't have to do that. It's more so just, hey, does my captain have a good enough ceiling to be able to keep up with the field with somebody that has LeBron, AD, Joker, and Maul at captain? But do my flex overpower their flex to the point where I can not only catch up, but also pass them?
Yes, exactly. And I think that's the most important part. Obviously, we're here to win money. We don't play showdown slates to, hit minimum money. We're not here playing showdown slates so we can make an extra $5 on our $5. We're trying to cash it, man. That's why we're here. If you're willing to play a showdown slate, we already know what you're doing. And it's probably it's legal. It's definitely legal. Let's just say that, but it's probably not the best situation of your life. So let's talk about it a little bit here. How are you feeling about this one? As you said, there's those 4 guys. They're pretty much going to run the show for the next, I don't know, hopefully 7 games. I think it's only going to go 5 or 6, but we'll see what happens. How do you, I guess, rank those 4 guys for me in terms of, especially for this game 1, who you think is going to have the most run, the most usage, understanding that these Nuggets have to be tired, man. And the last time we saw them come out after a game 7, they got pummeled by the Clippers in that game 1. It was not fun. We all kind of thought the series was over. Joke's on us. But yeah, talk to me, man. How do you feel about, I guess, those 4 dudes coming out and playing in your captain spot this week?
Given AD's matchup against Joker, it has one that he's been fairly dominant in throughout his career. Last time I checked earlier in the day, I think he averaged over 27 or 28 points per game in 4 games versus the Nuggets this season. I think he averaged 28 and 10 or something like that. So AD is definitely in a prime spot here. That being said, I don't see anybody on the Nuggets that's going to be able to guard LeBron. Playoff Braun has been activated. He just got snubbed again for who knows how many times in his career for MVP. Maybe if you are playing the narrative angle there, I really wouldn't be surprised to see LeBron drop a triple-double tonight, as you'll see in our Thrive 5 that we like to call it. So we'll be getting over to Thrive Fantasy for our player prop picks over there. But again, if you end up anticipating that LeBron James comes out and just goes playoff Braun mode and just absolutely dominates this game, he's definitely the guy that you want in your captain spot. But again, it does come at the priciest premium on the slate. So I'm not opposed to having AD in that slot as well. But for me, it's one of those 2 guys and nobody else.
And so why not either of those Nuggets, as we saw with Joker and with, I was almost called Novak Djokovic. That's funny. With the Joker, I mean, what we saw him do in that game 7, that was insane. The dude had it was like 12 points, 22 boards, and like 16 assists or something. And he had that one behind the back that was kind of just or over his head that he was just kind of playing with him at that point. I mean, the dude's gonna drop that. I mean, he's a solid spot to have there too. But is it the Lakers defense? What do you think it is that's kind of holding you back from that side of the ball?
For me, it's not only just the Lakers team defense. I mean, that alone, they've been one of the stingiest defenses in the entire NBA this season. So they definitely play good team defense overall. I mean, you have a bunch of guys contributing there, but Jokic did not have Anthony Davis going up against him in the last series. Like we said, he had the biggest mismatch there. Maul was pretty much being guarded by Patrick Beverley, Paul George, and Kawhi Leonard. Despite Kawhi and PG's struggles in that Game 7 offensively, I mean, these guys are two of the best defensive players in the entire league. They could pretty much guard all 5 positions and virtually guard anybody in the entire NBA, right? So with Maul having those kinds of matchups, you ended up seeing Jokic flourish even more so than anticipated. We already talked about him having a massive series, but again, he just exceeded expectations altogether. But the biggest thing that had to do with that is that going up against guys like Ivica Zubac, a very tired Montrezl Harrell, and other smaller big men, he did end up dominating in the post. But I don't see him doing that here against AD. He will do well. I'm not saying that he's going to get shut down to the point where he's going to end up dropping only 10 points or anything like that. If he does that, it's going to be a quick 4 and out here for these Denver Nuggets, unfortunately. But again, I'm not expecting 40-point triple doubles, at least not in this first game. The Lakers are rested, and people tend to forget that Anthony Davis, although he's not always in the conversation for Defensive Player of the Year, he's consistently on one of the top the defensive teams in the entire NBA. And of course, the all defensive team, he's typically on team number 1, but if not, even when he's injured, he's on team number 2. So Anthony Davis is a really tough matchup for Joker here.
I love it. Yeah, I mean, I'm a fan. I want to see this go 7, but I agree with you. I don't really think that is going to happen. So, let's go back to the build here for a little bit. And obviously, we're over here on Draftkings. I got my man DFS Ghost with me. Just make sure, everybody, we can't give you all these picks. Draftkings gets a little angry at us. But what we are going to do is we're going to fill this out a little bit and then give you some options towards the end. So let's go with LeBron. We're probably going to do a couple different ones, but let's stay here with LeBron in the captain spot. I think that's the most important. As you said, Anthony Davis is most likely going to dominate. You're willing to put him at your captain. If you're willing to put someone at your captain, it's probably a good choice to then also put them in your lineup. And is it going to happen every single time? No, we definitely suggest not making one lineup for Showdown Slate. We always like to say it, especially on our SiriusXM on-demand show. Anybody out there that has SiriusXM, search Showdown, and you'll be able to listen to me and our founder, Jason Mizrahi, every Monday talking about the Monday Showdown Slate for the NFL. But showdowns are hard. So if you have $100, make 10 $10 lineups. If you have $10, make 10 $1 lineups, because it's insanity. We don't know what the heck's going to happen. It's the playoffs, so the rotations are smaller. We don't really know what it's going to look like. So it's going to be a lot of fun, though. So back to the build, as I just said 4 minutes ago before I started that little rant. We have LeBron in our captain spot. Let's put AD in there as well. I'm sure we'll flip-flop him at some point during this as well. Not too much money left over. So it's going to be difficult to stick someone like Jokic in there. It's going to be hard to put someone like Murray in there. Where do you go to find the value to make this a little bit of an easier build?
He is slightly overpriced for me right now, but again, the third man in from the Denver Nuggets in my showdown lineups tonight would be Gary Harris. Like we were saying on and on again when they were back playing the Clippers a couple of days ago. He's back to getting full run. And he could really be an X factor in a series like this, being able to win his matchup against either KCP or Danny Green, or if he ends up seeing some minutes versus some of the Lakers bench as well, whether that's Rajon Rondo or Alex Caruso even. He's a guy that can win a matchup versus all 4 of those guys, right? So whether he's contributing on the defensive end or offensively in a series like this, he's going to have to do both. And I'm really expecting big things from Gary Harris. If it was a 2-game slate, he would typically not be 7,600. So for those of you that are either playing a showdown for the first time or you're watching a video on it for the first time, do not be surprised to see that the salaries here are extremely inflated, because that's exactly what both DraftKings and FanDuel do. They make it harder for us to build lineups this way. If Gary Harris was at his normal price, which he was over in round 2, he would be around 4,000, 4,500. He pretty much didn't move from games 1 through 7. So, but that would just be too easy, right? So at 7,600, don't be worried about calculating, 5 times the salary, 6 times the salary, 7 times the salary, anything like that. Like what we typically do for a normal GPP. Right now, you just want guys that end up getting the most amount of raw points, is what we call it. And for the Denver Nuggets, if you're not going Jokic or Maul, Gary Harris is definitely a premier target to end up slotting your lineups as that third Denver man.
I love it. I love that. That is a fantastic breakdown. I appreciate that there. So as you can see, we still have 3 slots left. We have an average remaining salary per player of about 4,700, which means we can go a little higher than that. We can grab someone like Jeremy Grant. We can grab someone like Paul Millsap, but then we're really going to be dumpster diving. So when you see this, you have 4,700 left for 3 players. Do you try and grab 3 guys around that price? Or are you okay with just trying to use up as much as the salary on the players you like and then go all the way down to the bottom when necessary?
It's a great point that you bring up because it was actually something that I wanted to talk about next. If there's ever I don't want to say a contest, if there's ever a style of tournament that you're playing on DraftKings or FanDuel where it's okay to leave salary, it's a showdown. So if you end up making a lineup where you simply click 6 players and you're like, man, this looks good, and you have exactly $0 left, the chances are that there's probably 100,000 other people out there in these massive contests that have the exact same lineup as you. So again, this is where you end up taking chances. So since we can't give full lineups, of course, I'll just give one player compared to another example. So let's say you have Rajon Rondo sitting there at 5,400. You have 5 out of 6 players in your lineup right now. You have exactly $5,400 left. You're like, yes, I get Rajon Rondo. That lineup was easy to build. I got AD or LeBron at captain. I absolutely love this build. Well, congratulations. So do 100,000 other people in your contest. So again, that's where you can end up pivoting to a guy, let's say like, again, just an example for everyone that's watching right now. Let's say you end up taking Danny Green or Alex Caruso. So you end up sticking with that same theme where you want a Lakers guard, but hey, let me drop down by $600 or even $1,400 to take a guy like Danny Green or Alex Caruso, because the large majority of these fields, if they have $5,400 left in that spot, if they have the choice between Rondo, Danny Green, or Alex Caruso, not only is Rondo the better play, in my opinion, getting back to what we're actually building in our lineup on your screen right now, but it's more so that I have the salary to go with the highest price guy. I'm going to take the highest price guy. So that's where you can end up saying, okay, I'm going to end up taking Alex Caruso over Rondo tonight. And if Caruso ends up outscoring Rondo, then you just not only jumped up a couple spots, you probably jumped up a couple thousand, because that's what we call a lineup train, where you end up having a bunch of users, a bunch of entrants having the exact same lineup. If it ends up being $0 left, that's where you can end up making a slight pivot and leaving some salary on the table.
I love that. Yeah. Hopefully people are paying attention when they are listening here. I think it is very important to understand that aspect of it, because again, if you have one player that all those 100,000 people don't, but the rest is similar, if your one player does better, you just leapfrog all of those people, which means you hopefully are making a little bit more money, if not a lot of bit more money, which is always something we like to see. So one thing about showdowns, as we already kind of alluded to, yes, we have these 4 guys. We're probably going to play a lot of LeBron James, probably going to play a lot of Anthony Davis in that captain spot. But again, we got to get wacky with it, man. So if you are going to go and maybe grab a little bit of extra value at the captain spot so you can fit LeBron James, Anthony Davis, and Nikola Jokic into your lineup, where are you going to go to try and find that salary savings to allow something like that to happen?
In a game like this, I wouldn't necessarily do it at the captain spot, simply because of how tight the 2 rotations are. But I do like your idea of doing that in the flex spot. So if we take our lineup that we have right now, where we end up having either LeBron or AD at the captain spot, and then you put the other one in your utility, and then you round it out with a guy like Gary Harris or Michael Porter Jr. or someone in that mid-range from the Denver Nuggets. Typically, when I have 3 spots left, I like to go bottom up, in the sense that I like to pick my value guy first and then kind of see what I'm working with. And then again, if there's 2 guys, like let's say, for example, I end up taking someone in the $2,000 to $3,000 range, and then I end up finding another one in that kind of range, or maybe 4,000, and I have a bunch of money left over. That's where you can come to the original idea that I had said earlier in the show, where, you know what, I had AD at captain, but now I have the salary to flip flop them, and I can put LeBron, right? So that's where you end up kind of leaving a bit of wiggle room. Or you can say, hey, let me play AD, LeBron there, and let me leave $1,500 on the table. It's a showdown slate, right? So that's exactly what you need to do. So with 3 spots left in my lineup, I definitely like to, that's when I go as low as possible and end up kind of making a mini player pool within my player pool to see who are the best value plays that are there. One guy that definitely has my interest is JaVale McGee. So with Houston playing small ball, McGee pretty much fell out of the rotation, right? We saw a lot of Markieff Morris there playing center. AD ended up, I guess we can say, taking one for the team, despite being a professional basketball player and a professional athlete. You would just expect these kind of things from these guys. But again, it's known that he doesn't like playing the five. So kudos for him to end up taking some minutes there and doing what's best for the team. But again, Houston was extremely small. You had a 33 or 34, maybe a 35-year-old PJ Tucker there. Robert Covington ended up getting a bunch of minutes at the five. There's no need for a guy like JaVale McGee. Now, with the Nuggets end up being much more physically imposing with guys like Jokic up the middle, Plumlee, and etc. That's where JaVale McGee could end up reinserting himself into the starting lineup, or at least getting some run off the bench and end up contributing some solid minutes there. Sitting at 2,000, he really doesn't need much to end up not hurting your lineup. Will he end up getting you 50 points and taking you to the top? And it's a guy, hey, let me play this guy in the captain spot. Absolutely not. Please do not do that for me. But again, at $2,000, if it lets you get some mid-range targets that you really like, a guy like JaVale McGee has a lot of interest for me, as well as KCP and Alex Caruso. Alex Caruso ended up getting a ton of run in that Houston series, but again, it ends up going on the same line with why JaVale McGee did not end up getting a lot of run because Houston plays so small. He ended up seeing pretty much 25 minutes plus per night. I'm really curious to see what they do here versus a Denver Nuggets team that's a lot bigger in size compared to Houston.
And I have to go with the assumption, if you're cool with JaVale McGee, you'd probably be cool with Dwight Howard as well, correct?
As long as Howard ends up playing. He hasn't really played much in these playoffs. So that's where I would stay away for now, simply because I don't know if he's actually going to get any minutes there. But again, it's known that Frank Vogel, who's the coach of the Lakers, has pretty much said that, you know what, they're going to return to a more stereotypical lineup where they're going to have a number 5 big man. They're going to have AD at the 4, you know. So again, I can't say I know for a fact Dwight Howard is going to get minutes. Because of that, I wouldn't play him in game one. But again, if he does go out there, then that's a guy that you could take a shot on, right? So if we know for a fact before lock, we have plenty of time. We have 3 hours to lock where you end up saying, hey, Dwight Howard will get minutes tonight in the rotation. It's the Lakers. The game's at 9 p.m. Eastern time. You know that the news of their lineup is only going to come out at 10 p.m. Eastern time because that's exactly what they like to do to the DFS industry. But again, if you end up getting news where Dwight Howard does end up getting some minutes, or at least you know that, hey, he's going to be available off the bench, even the words available off the bench is somewhat positive for me to think that Dwight Howard might get some run. And both him and McGee are going to be solid contributors in this series to go up against Jokic and Plumlee.
Yeah, I'm excited to watch it. And I'm also excited. I always like when we have the chat going because it's always fun. And I don't know, Ghost, I want you to defend yourself a little bit. We have Ray Hansen over here on YouTube. The Lakers with JaVale McGee in the lineup against the Nuggets. Nuggets. So that's whatever. I make spelling mistakes sometimes. Earlier in the year, we're outscored by 18 points. Are you going to take too much of that into account, or are you going to kind of chalk it up to, hey, JaVale McGee, known NBA world champion, can do his thing where he needs to in these playoffs?
So it is a great point. I do like looking at previous matchup history as well, but the NBA bubble for me is something that's completely different than the 2020 season. So with that being said, is it something to completely scratch off your research? Absolutely not. It is a great point that you bring up, but the NBA bubble is completely different because I guarantee you, if you saw that, if you thought that Montrezl Harrell was only going to get 15 minutes tonight and Ivica Zubac was going to creep into the 30s, I wouldn't be surprised if Ivica Zubac has never touched 30 minutes period in his entire career. But there he was in games 5, 6, getting 30 plus minutes and getting extended run because Harrell was just not Montrezl Harrell, right? So the NBA bubble is completely different than the 2020 regular season. Keep in mind that all these guys had 3, 4, who knows how many months off when the pandemic first hit. So I'm not too worried into stuff like that. And you also have to take into account that what did the Lakers' schedule look like back then? Were they on a back-to-back? Was anybody out? Did the Nuggets have a couple days off? Was Jokic sitting out for load management in the game before that? There's a lot of things that go into stuff like that. Right now, I like to look at facts that we have at hand. Denver's coming off a very tough, grueling 7-game series win against LA. They're not playing LA again. They're playing the other LA team. which in my opinion isn't even deserving to be called the other LA team, but we're just saying that for sentence structure at least. But again, right now I'm dealing with what we have in front of us, and that's Jokic is absolutely gassed from that 7-game series, and I wouldn't be surprised to see them come out at least struggling just a little bit. Are they going to get blown out by 30? I'd be surprised if that would happen. Anything's possible in a playoff series, let alone with a team coming off a 7-game series win. But again, right now, all I know is that Jokic and Maul must be absolutely gassed from that 7-game series versus the Clippers.
And it was so much fun to watch. I wrote them off, I'm sure, just like everybody else did. A bunch of people here on this channel at HNB, I'm sure a couple people wrote them off as well. But it was so much fun to see them come back, do their thing, and really enjoy it there. So before we get over to our friends at Thrive Fantasy, I actually was about to ask you a question before we ended up popping on here. And obviously, as everybody out there should know, Ghost is our resident. Actually, I can't even say resident Canadian. For some reason, Win Daily, we just love Canadians here. So we got multiple of them on our team, and we love each and every one of them. But Ghost is our resident Raptors fan, biggest Raptors fan I personally know, outside of one other Canadian that I know. And so, Ghost, I got to ask you, does it feel sweet to see the Heat just beating up on the Celtics, especially when the Celtics have all these big leads? They're up like 10, 12, 14. I can't remember what it was in the first game. And the Celtics are just imploding, and now it's their locker rooms going crazy. And I was loving the internet today. Everyone's like, oh, they should release Kyrie so he doesn't make any more locker room mistakes. And well, they already tried that. It's not really working out too much anymore. So just give me a little, how are you feeling about this series so far?
I don't know if my smile can actually reach ear to ear, but it's pretty close right now, right? So seeing the Miami Heat do their thing and go up 2-0 is definitely something that's fun to watch. And putting the whole them beating my Raptors in 7 aside, I am a big Tyler Hero fan, as everyone that watches the show knows. So seeing the Miami Heat do what they do, and of course I'm really happy for Jimmy Butler.
Me too.
He's a guy that's one of, if not the fiercest competitor in the entire NBA. He didn't even bring his family for visitation, right? So again, he's a guy that if there's anybody in the East out there that deserves a championship ring, it's a guy like Jimmy Butler. And it's definitely fun to see what the 76ers franchise is going through right now, seeing him do his thing out there.
Whoopsie. And I love that because, I'm a big Philadelphia hater. So I appreciate you bringing that up. But just wanted to get your thoughts on that game before we moved over to talk about our friends over here at Thrive Fantasy. Thrive Fantasy is an incredible site where you can just go pick the over-unders on player props. And who the hell doesn't love player props? We do. We love making money on it. Ghost has his Thrive 5 for Thrive to 5. I can't remember exactly how the rhyme goes, but he'll explain it in a little bit. But what you can do is you can go to thrivefantasy.com, use promo code WINDAILY. They will give you a matching bonus up to $250. And then because we're such great partners with them, we told everybody, you know what? You do that, you give them $250. We'll give them 3 months free of WinDailySports.com, which includes all of our projections, which Ghost does by hand and with the computer and calculators, of course, but mostly by hand. All of our articles, our expert Discord chat, everything that we offer over here in our gold membership. You get it for 3 months for free just for going to play over at Thrive Fantasy and making money with us along the way. So what we're going to do tonight, this is what we've done the last few shows, and I think people have really enjoyed it. So please let us know how much you love it and how much money you're making, because Ghost has been absolutely killing it. We're going to give you 2 locks, and then we're going to give you 2 that are a little frisky, and then we always give our honorable mention. That's where the 5th one comes from. So Ghost Man, I will leave it up to you. Where are we going for our first lock?
We're gonna go to the bottom of the list. Obviously, not too far because I know we have some NFL player props up there as well. So, as much as I do like some over there, it's not the day for that. So, we're gonna go to playoff Braun, snubbed for yet another MVP here. We are smashing the over 45.5 PRA, points, rebounds, and assists for LeBron James tonight.
I love that. One thing about LeBron is, he is always up for a good narrative comeback. I love him. Hand up. I root for him wherever the hell he goes. I couldn't care less. I'm always for it. And yeah, he loves when he gets snubbed and he makes that face that he always makes, or he's like kind of like mean mugging a little bit. I can't do it quite as good as him. But it is awesome, and I think he is going to go absolutely berserk. And I wouldn't be surprised if it's only 20 points, but the rest of that 25 comes, or 26 comes in the form of rebounds and assists, and he just goes absolutely bonkers tonight, especially going up against Joker. What Joker just did in that game 7, I think he put up over 45 PRA, 22 rebounds, 15 assists, 13 points, whatever the hell it ended up being. It was a lot of fun to watch. So that's our first lock of the night, and I completely agree with you there. Seeing some really weird numbers here, and I just wanted to just point that out because I'm kind of curious where you're going with the second lock.
For those of you that have been watching continuously, you know that we only live for the overs here, or at least for our lock picks. We're gonna go over 15.5 PRA, points, rebounds, and assists for my man Gary Harris.
I love that. He's one of your favorite people. I think, again, with the way the Lakers are going to have to guard Jokic, the way the Lakers are going to have to figure out to at least limit Jamal Murray, I think it's a great spot for him to, just do his thing. And again, 10 points, he's only going to need 3 rebounds, 3 assists. It's not like he needs some monster night to hit that 16 number for us. So I like that a lot. So those are our 2 locks. Go over to Thrive Fantasy, use promo code WinDaily, $250 matching bonus. You get 3 months free of WinDaily Sports, and you just won money. There you go. You're welcome. Take it to the bank. Take that $250 that they give you, put it on this, double it, and now you're sitting real pretty. All right, so now let's get a little frisky. The more picks that we make and the more that we get right, the more money you win. Nothing wrong with that, right? If you get all 4 of them right, we times 11 our money. So that $250, I don't know, around $3,000, give or take, maybe a little less than $3,000. If you get 3 of them right, we get about 5 times our money. If you get 2 of them right, we get 3 times our money, which I'm not angry about at all. So talk to me about this third pick. Where are we going? A little friskier. Where are we going?
We're gonna go. Man, the Paul Millsap and Jeremy Grant ones are definitely one that interests me. Maybe I'll come to that for pick number 4. Those numbers are a little bit on the lower end, so that's the one thing about picking unders with numbers such as 13.5 or 14.5, especially when it's PRA, points, rebounds, and assists. Man, you really don't need much, right? So, barring that he is healthy, and this one you will have to keep up with the news leading up to lock. What is NBA DFS or player props without needing news before lock? We're going to go over 9.5 rebounds and assists for Rajon Rondo.
9.5 for Rajon Rondo. I like just the rebounds and assists. I mean, we know what he can do. He's all over the floor. Dude's an animal, scrappy as hell. A lot of fun to watch. But man, that's going to be interesting. I'm crossing my fingers. So yeah, people pay attention to that one. Make sure he is playing. One you haven't picked yet, and I'm kind of curious. Maybe it's your 4th one, so I'll bring it up. And if not, I'm just kind of want to feel you out. That Kyle Kuzma number, man, 3.5 total rebounds, 4 rebounds. Dude can do that in the first quarter. Why is that number so low? It just feels like they're trying to trap us on the over on that one, man.
It is somewhat of a trap, given that Denver does typically play a much bigger lineup than Houston does, simply because of their size, but also just that's how they end up winning ball games. Kyle Kuzma will most likely see most of his minutes on the wing. So with the rebounding guards, I guess we could call LeBron a guard. He's everywhere, right? So, yeah. But he pretty much plays most of his time at the point. With rebounding guards such as LeBron, and Rajon Rondo does end up getting more rebounds as he gets later into his career. It seems like I'm not expecting too many chances for Kuzma because he's out there on the wing. I'm more looking for him to stretch the floor in the sense that they want to pull one of their bigs or one of their taller wings out of the paint and kind of let AD and LeBron do their thing. But that one is definitely interesting nonetheless. If you look at what he did versus Houston, he only topped 4 rebounds once.
Wow.
So even with the minutes that he was getting, he didn't see too many minutes, like into the 30s. From what I remember, he was mostly around the 22 to 25 range. I think he topped off at 27 or 28 in one of the games where the Lakers just ended up blowing them out. So that one is one that it could be a bit of a trap, but when you're coming to the GPP style tournaments at Thrive, where you end up getting more points, the friskier your picks end up getting, if I could use your analogy, that's definitely one where you can either pick the over or the under. I really can't make an argument for either one of them. That one is definitely better than the other. But like I said, I would actually lean the under on that one just because of the amount of time that he's going to get on the wing and his role in a series like this.
But I feel like you have to have gigantic balls to take the under on that one, man. That's such a small number. I mean, it's 2 tips. You know, he misses his own rebound or he misses his own shot twice, right? And that's 2 rebounds right there. I that is 100% stay away from me. It's clearly a trap. They want you to take one of those sides because they know either you're going to talk yourself into the under or you're going to talk yourself into the over. And obviously, as we know, it only can be one of them. So, all right, so we're going to stay away from that one. I don't want to touch that one. Where are we going for our 4th pick over here on Thrive Fantasy?
So the 4th one is always the friskiest of the bunch. We're going to go with under 22.5 for Nikola Jokic.
Whoa. Well, I mean, that's interesting. First off, we always live for the over. So that's important to understand. Ghost does not take these unders lightly. He has very good reasoning for it. And that scares me a little bit. I mean, we didn't see Jokic score an insane amount of points, especially in that game 7. It was mostly just him doing everything and controlling the game. I think he had 12 shots, right? It was something weird. Do you think it's going to be that type of a game for him again, where he's still doing everything, but just isn't really putting the ball in the basket as much?
So my theory slash analysis on this pick is pretty much the following. If Denver wants to win this series, or at least win game 1, they're going to have to pull Anthony Davis out of the paint, because as long as he's in the paint, they're not scoring on the inside. Mm-hmm. That's it. It's as simple as that. Jokic is a guy that can drop the 3. He has very good handles for a big man. And like I've said before, he is the best passing big man in the league, if not one of the best passers in the entire league, along with probably the best passer in the entire league with LeBron James on the other side, right? So look for Jokic to kind of float around the 3-point line in an attempt to try and draw Anthony Davis out, because we know that JaVale McGee does not have the footwork to be able to kind of guard like that. Back when he was with Golden State, you definitely saw Kyrie cross him up quite a few times and end up dropping him on his back there in game 7. I believe it was the 2018 finals or one of the years. Anyways, needless to say, JaVale McGee is not somebody that could guard out in open space. So Anthony Davis will likely be tasked with guarding Jokic, not only on the inside, but on the outside. And that way Denver can end up scoring on the interior. I'm expecting more Jokic to end up dishing the rock in a series like this, or at least in game 1. And Jamal Murray playing a bit more off ball, trying to get his 3-point shot and his mid-range jump shot going, and trying to attack the basket, as long as Anthony Davis ends up following Jokic out of the paint. So because of that, I'm taking the under 22.5 on Nikola Jokic.
I love the pick, man. I love the analysis, and we appreciate the hell out of you. So it Thrive to 4 doesn't really rhyme. Thrive to 5 does. So I gotta know, what's your 5th pick over here on Thrive Fantasy?
The honorable mention is never in my core 4, because this is one that that you can, whether you flip flop it because you're more confident in that 5th pick, or it was something that you had liked or written down beforehand, and then you're like, hey, the Win Daily team likes it too. So that's why it's always an honorable mention. It's more so there to be kind of an icebreaker pick, or let's say you're worried about Rajon Rondo being injured or anything like that. That's where you could end up flip-flopping it for one of the other picks. But I will take that 14.5 for Jeremy Grant. Keeps hitting me in the face. Oh my God. I live for the overs, but Jeremy Grant has just not been Jeremy Grant. I will take the under 14.5 PRA, points, rebounds, and assists for Jeremy Grant there.
Under 14.5. We don't need the football players in here. Get the hell out of here. So we got the over on LeBron James. Lock it up. The narrative is there, and we love every second of it. 45.5. So we're looking for 46 points, rebounds, and assists. I think he smashes that. He probably gets closer to 50. We're taking the over on Gary Harris. Of course, life's too short. We got to take the over. 15.5 points, rebounds, assists. As we said before, Ghost really likes him as that third option in this game. We're taking the over, of course, on Rajon Rondo's 9.5 rebounds and assists. So we only need 10 rebounds and assists from this guy. We've seen him put up 7 and 7 in those, 8 and 10, 12 and 14. The dude can do whatever he wants. All we're looking for is 10, but make sure he's actually playing. I think that part is very, very important. Yeah. And then just a couple of the friskier ones. We're taking the under on Nikola Jokic of 22.5 points. We still think he dominates in the series, but it's not quite going to be from the scoring end. And the under on Jeremy Grant, we don't think he's going to dominate in this series, and that's probably why I have 14.5 points, rebounds, and assists. Remember, thrivefantasy.com, promo code WinDaily, matching bonus up to $250. Take that money, go put it into Thrive Fantasy, win with Ghost picks. He just gave you winning picks. He's been killing it. I think his last one was 4 for 5. I think we've routinely gone 4 for 4, 3 for 3, 3 for 2. 3 for 2, that's impossible. 3 for 4. But Ghost has been killing it, and we appreciate the hell out of him. So go play around. Maybe put 2 of these in. Definitely put his 2 locks in, and maybe play around with some of the other ones. Make your money. Then come over to Win Daily Sports. You get 3 months free of everything that we have, all of our projections, all of our articles, our expert chat where you get to ask Ghost questions directly on how he likes your lineup build, what he might do a little different, and we get to coach you to make some money. And I think that's pretty solid, right? $250 and 3 months free of Win Daily Sports. You get to talk to me and Ghost whenever the hell you want. I think that's a pretty good place to be. So, Ghost Man, just in case everyone just wants to ask you questions on the internet anyway, where can everybody find you?
At DFS_Ghost over on Twitter. And like Michael has said, in the Win Daily Discord channel, make sure you come and join the family.
All the Win Daily Discord channels. We're having a lot of fun. Please come join the family. I am at Michael Rasile1. Make sure to follow us at Win Daily Sports. We appreciate each and every one of you. We hope you guys had some fun. We expect you to go make some money, and we hope you make it a very profitable night of the Western Conference the Western Conference Finals, Game 1, Lakers Nuggets. Let's go Lakers.